Beginning in 2022 and continuing into the 2023 construction season, MDOT will undertake a major rebuilding of 2 miles of I-496 in Lansing. This presentation will outline what's planned and how interested stakeholders can provide input and feedback on the project. The I-496 rebuilding project was selected and funded as part of Governor Gretchen Whitmer's Rebuilding Michigan program. Rebuilding Michigan is focused on the state highways and bridges that are critical to the state's economy and carry the most traffic. The I-496 rebuilding project will begin at the bridges over Lansing Road, where the 2020 project ended, continuing east. The I-496 rebuilding project will end at the Grand River. Some capital preventative maintenance work will be done on the Grand River Bridge and will be covered later in this presentation. MDOT will be investing an estimated $82 million from a variety of state and federal sources in this project. Walsh Construction Company and their team of designers were awarded the project in October. The project is currently in the design phase. Work is expected to be completed in 2023. Work will include rebuilding mainline I-496 and ramps, adding additional weave merge lanes between Lansing Road and M-99. Improvements include replacing I-496 storm sewer, city sanitary sewer crossings, and water main crossings. Long-term benefits include improvements to vehicle and pedestrian safety and operations. The project is currently in the design phase. In addition to I-496, the project improvements include improvements in capital preventative maintenance on all bridges within the project limits. The majority of these structures carry local routes over I-496. There are 3 bridges over I-496 that are planned to have full deck replacements: Hungerford Street, Capitol Avenue, and Grand Avenue. This project is being delivered utilizing a design-build procurement method. With this delivery method, MDOT, as the owner, can work directly with one entity, the design-build contractor, in a single contract to provide design and construction services. This method assigns risk to the party that is best able to manage it and will minimize it for the owner, MDOT. For example, the drainage is very steep. MDOT knows it can be rebuilt, but there are multiple ways a design builder can perform this work. MDOT will include the requirements in the contract for the minimum the department will accept. How the design builder gets there is 100% their responsibility. This also allows MDOT to shorten the overall schedule by overlapping the design and construction phases. Lastly, it allows for contractor innovation to tackle the most challenging aspects of the project, which involves a deep storm sewer replacement. Work is anticipated to be split between 2022 and 2023. 2022 work will focus on rebuilding I-496 with the entire freeway closed between M-99, also known as Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and the Grand River. In 2023, I-496 will be rebuilt part width between Lansing Road and M-99, and the Malcolm X and St. Joseph Street service drives will be resurfaced. Bridge capital preventative maintenance work for the 17 structures is planned throughout 2022 and 2023 and will be sequenced to avoid conflicts with the proposed detour routes. MDOT analyzed work schedules between detouring and not detouring I-496. Closing and detouring I-496 will allow the project to be completed 1 year sooner. Detouring I-496 will also improve safety for the traveling public and road workers. This section of I-496 is a depressed freeway that has its own drainage system to drain the roadway. The drainage all flows into a trunk-line storm sewer located between eastbound I-496. The storm sewer varies from an 18-inch diameter pipe that is nearly 5 feet deep to a 60-inch diameter pipe that is nearly 25 feet deep, which eventually discharges into the Grand River. The proposed detour of I-496 will be between M-99 and Grand Avenue. Eastbound I-496 would be reduced to a single lane and detoured to Malcolm X Street. the eastbound service drive at the M-99 exit. Westbound I-496 would be detoured to St. Joseph Street, the westbound service drive at the Grand Avenue exit. A minimum of 2 lanes would be open on the service drives during the detour. Project signs will be placed in advance of the work zone at the outer extents of the Lansing highway system to notify drivers of the project and the I-496 closure. The predicted diversion rates during work on the project are shown on this slide. 50% of normal traffic is expected to seek alternate routes along I-69 Business Loop, Michigan Avenue, Kalamazoo Street, Mount Hope Avenue, and other local roadways. The remaining 50% of normal traffic would enter the service drives as usual. As part of the project, sidewalks within the limits of the service drive upgrades will be checked for compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. If the sidewalks are not ADA compliant, they will be rebuilt to be in compliance. During rebuilding of the sidewalks, pedestrians will be detoured generally one city block. Efforts will be made to minimize the overall impact on pedestrian traffic. MDOT conducts a noise analysis for projects that meet the criteria categorized as Type 1 by the Federal Highway Administration. They include the building of a highway on a new location, substantial physical alterations of an existing highway, the addition of a new lane more than 2,500 feet in length, and an interchange ramp reconfiguration. The traffic noise analysis investigates existing and future sound levels at noise-sensitive land uses, including residences, public use spaces, and other locations where activities can be negatively affected by traffic noise. MDOT uses federal and state guidelines to determine if noise barriers, sometimes referred to as sound walls or noise walls, can be built. Noise impacts are considered identified when the noise levels reported by the computer model at an individual noise receptor meets or exceeds an impact criteria such as 66 A-weighted decibels or dBA for residences. dBA is a unit of measurement on a scale that filters out higher and lower frequencies to be more representative of the way people hear sounds. A noise barrier is considered reasonable when a minimum of one benefited receptor achieves a 10 dBA noise reduction, and 50% of benefited receptors achieve a 7 dBA reduction. A noise barrier is also considered reasonable when the noise barrier building cost divided by the number of benefiting receptors is equal to or less than $49,301 in 2021 dollars per benefiting receptor. For a noise barrier to be recommended, it must meet both feasible and reasonable criteria. The viewpoints of the owners and residents from each of the benefiting receptors must now be taken into consideration. Through a voting process provided by MDOT, more than 50% of the responding owners and residents must vote in favor of the recommended noise barrier for it to be recommended to be built. For the noise barrier to be recommended, it must meet both feasible and reasonable criteria. MDOT identified one area that meets both feasible and reasonable criteria. This area was identified off the westbound I-496 exit ramp to Grand Avenue. We hope this presentation has provided a good introduction to the planned 2021 through 2023 I-496 project. If you'd like more information, follow the links in the video description below to visit the project website or register your feedback through an online form. Thank you for taking the time to get the details on this major upcoming project.